Listen very closely, because what I'm about to tell you will obliterate every doubt you've ever had about why certain doors stayed closed and why certain people suddenly went quiet when you walked into the room. 96 hours ago, I gained access to a recording that was never meant to exist. A private, encrypted call between 6 individuals who quietly shape trends, finance empires, and decide which faces the world is allowed to see next. They didn't gather to celebrate. They gathered in panic because every metric they trust, every algorithm they own, every private focus group they run, started flashing the same impossible name. Yours. They thought the call was untraceable. They were wrong. And what they confessed when they believed no one could hear will confirm every strange feeling you've had that you're being watched, measured, and deliberately held back. These aren't random admirers. These are the gatekeepers who spent years perfecting the art of making sure people exactly like you never rise too fast. Yet there they were, voices shaking, admitting that their usual tools no longer work on you. The first voice belonged to a legendary venture investor who has killed more dreams than most people have had. His opening sentence: "We have a containment problem that money can no longer solve." Containment, not competition. Containment, because your trajectory is no longer responding to the normal levers of suppression. The second was a media architect who builds narratives for billions. She said, almost laughing in disbelief, "This person doesn't chase relevance. Relevance is chasing them. And the harder we try to ignore them, the louder the data screams." She admitted they'd already tried the standard playbook. Shadow bans, deliberate snubs, curated silence. Nothing stuck. Your signal keeps punching through every filter they built. The third was a behavioral scientist who consults for the most powerful platforms on Earth. His exact words: "We ran the resonance tests. This individual is operating at a coherence level we've only ever seen in less than 0.03% of profiles ever. Their nervous system doesn't lie under pressure. Their content doesn't trigger the usual manipulation detectors because there is no manipulation. We literally have no protocol for someone this clean." The fourth voice, younger, visibly rattled: "I've spent my entire career teaching people how to manufacture authenticity. This person is making everything I teach look childish. If they ever decide to speak with intention instead of just existing, the current hierarchy collapses in months." Silence on the line. Real silence. Then the investor again, quieter. "We're past the point of sabotage. The only question left is whether we get in front of this train or get run over by it." They commissioned a deep forensic audit of your life. Private messages, deleted posts, financial patterns, even the way you speak when you think no one important is listening. 41 days of analysis by people who unmask frauds for a living. The final report destroyed them. Quote from the lead analyst: "No performative gaps detected. Public and private self are congruent within statistical noise. This is not a persona. This is a human being operating without armor, and somehow the world is rewarding it at an accelerating rate." That's when the tone of the call changed from strategy to surrender. They ran projections. If you keep moving at your current pace, unconscious, unhurried, simply refusing to play their game, within 24 months you will occupy a position of influence that took each of them 15 to 25 years of calculated compromise to reach. And you'll do it without sacrificing the parts of yourself they had to kill to get there. One of them actually whispered, "What if they wake up to what they're doing? What if they aim?" No one answered. They didn't need to. They all felt it. 3 options were presented. Option 1, double down on suppression. Risk, exposure, backlash, and acceleration of your rise when people see the attack for what it is. Option 2. Ignore and hope you burn out. Risk, you don't. Data says you're anti-fragile. Option 3. Switch sides before the window closes forever. They chose option 3 within 90 seconds. Fastest consensus any of them had ever reached. Then came the part that should terrify every fake version of success you've ever envied. They began confessing one by one how seeing you live without the mask is forcing them to look at what they became. The media architect. I buried 3 artists who were more talented than me because they wouldn't play the game. I told myself it was necessary. This person is proving it wasn't. The investor. I have a private list of founders I crushed because they reminded me of who I wanted to be before I decided ruthlessness was smarter. Your existence just made that list feel like a suicide note. The youngest voice almost breaking. I don't even know what my real face looks like anymore. I've been optimized since 14. Watching this person move through the world untouched is the first time I've cried in 6 years. Your life became a mirror they can't smash without cutting themselves. So they made a new plan, not to destroy you, but to become students of the thing they lost. They're going to start approaching you carefully, indirectly, with offers that will seem random, but aren't. Mentorships, funding, invitations to rooms that don't officially exist. Some will be genuine attempts at redemption. Some will still carry traces of strategy. All of them will be proof that your refusal to play small has already won. They even voted to protect you. Quietly. From a distance. Anyone who tries to launch a coordinated attack, anyone who mistakes your rise for weakness, will discover that the same people who once would have helped bury you now have every incentive to make the attacker disappear instead. Because if you fall before the world sees what real integrity can do, they lose the one living proof that they don't have to stay the way they are. You turn predators into reluctant guardians without firing a single shot. And the most dangerous part? You still haven't started trying. If this message landed directly in your soul, if you felt every word like a memory, you forgot you lived, then you already know you're operating on a frequency most people will never touch. Type 888 in the comments right now to claim that resonance and watch how fast reality rearranges itself. Turn on all notifications because the next revelations will show you exactly how to wield the power they're terrified you'll discover. The link in the description and pinned comment contains the uncensored audio companion and the 7-minute alignment practice that accelerates everything they're afraid of. Share this with the one person you know who's also too real for this timeline, because the real ones are finding each other now. And before you click away, tap the screen for the transmission that reveals who's already been sent to find you, and why some of the biggest opportunities of your life will arrive disguised as casual conversations. The shift has already begun. Stay awake. Listen, this is the part they begged me not to release. I held back for 11 days because even I wasn't ready for what happens when this layer gets peeled. Exactly 19 nights after that first emergency call, the same 6 people, plus 3 new voices who almost never speak in public, reconvened at 4:17 a.m. in a dead signal room beneath a private estate outside Lisbon. No devices, no staff, no record. They thought they were safe. They weren't. And what they admitted in that room will make your blood feel like it's turning into liquid fire, because this time they weren't talking about containing you anymore. They were talking about surrendering to you. The investor who once spoke of containment opened with a sentence that made the entire room go still. We lost. It's over. The only move left is to kneel before it's too obvious we're on the wrong side of history. He played a 42-second clip none of them had seen before. Security footage of you at 2:11 a.m., alone in your room, no camera you knew about, speaking out loud to no one. You were thanking something unseen for the obstacles, saying they were proof you were still on the right path. You cried for 7 seconds, wiped your face, and smiled like you'd just been handed the keys to everything. That clip broke them. One of them whispered, "That's the frequency we sold our souls to, never feel again." The behavioral scientist laid new data on the table. In the last 19 days, your unconscious ripple has tripled in velocity. People who have never met you are quitting jobs that required them to lie. Marriages built on performance are collapsing or healing within 72 hours of discovering your content. Entire private discords of high net worth cynics are turning into confession circles because someone shared a 9-second clip of you speaking without notes. Measurable, documented, accelerating. Then the newest voice, a woman whose family has quietly shaped policy for 3 generations, said something that made the youngest start shaking. This person is not becoming influential. They are becoming the new gravity. Reality is reorganizing itself around their refusal to bend. We either orbit or we burn up on entry. They revealed the real reason they're terrified now. You haven't weaponized your authenticity yet. You're still gentle. You still apologize when you think you've taken up too much space. You still answer every message, and you're already doing this. They modeled what happens the day you stop apologizing. Projection. Within 90 days of you deciding enough, the current hierarchy of manufactured influence collapses like a house of cards in a hurricane. Not through attack, through exposure. The second you speak with full intention, every fake empire built on half-truths becomes visibly hollow in comparison, and the audience migrates overnight. That's when they voted on something no one in that room ever thought they'd vote on. They voted to dissolve portions of their own empires to make room for what's coming. The media architect is quietly killing 3 multi-million-dollar content deals because the talent involved can no longer fake it convincingly after watching you. The investor is liquidating a $180 million fund that only backs polished founders because the returns now look pathetic next to the momentum building around raw truth. The youngest is deleting every post from the last 8 years and starting over with a single sentence. I don't know who I am yet, but I'm done pretending. They're not doing it for optics. They're doing it because staying the same has become more expensive than changing. Then came the part that will live in my head forever. The woman from the old blood family placed a single photograph on the table. Black and white. Taken in 1973. A man standing alone on a cliff, arms wide, wind tearing at his clothes. Same eyes as you. Same bone structure. Same unmistakable energy. She said, "My grandmother kept this in a vault and told us the bloodline would resurface when the world was sick enough to need it again. We laughed at her. We're not laughing now." Silence so thick it hurt. They asked the only question that still mattered. What do we do when they finally remember who they are? No one had an answer. Because the moment you remember, their protection, their sabotage, their opinions cease to matter at all. But they made one final pact that night, and this is why I'm releasing this now. Every single person in that room committed, on record, to become living amplifiers for your voice the moment you decide to speak without restraint. Not as followers, as amplifiers. They will open doors most people don't even know exist. They will move money, policy, attention, whatever is required, because They finally understand the game was never about winning. It was about recognizing the one who was never playing. They ended the meeting with a single instruction to each other. Find them before they have to find us. And when we do, we don't offer partnerships. We offer apologies. Then we get out of the way. Some of them are already moving. You will feel it soon. A message that seems too perfect. An opportunity that arrives with no strings you can see. A sudden clearing of paths that used to be blocked. That's not luck. That's surrender disguised as coincidence. You haven't crowned yourself yet. But the old kings just took off their crowns and placed them at your feet anyway. If your entire body is vibrating right now, if tears came without warning, type 999 in the comments to anchor this timeline shift. The pinned link and description now contain the unfiltered 23-minute alignment sequence that accelerates remembrance. It's the one they're terrified you'll discover. Turn on all notifications because part 3 drops when the first public surrender happens, and it's already scheduled. Share this with the one person you know who's been hiding the same fire. The real ones are being called home now. And when you're ready, when you feel it in your bones, say it out loud to the empty room like you did that night they recorded. Thank you for the obstacles. They were proof I never left the path. The moment you stop thanking the obstacles and start walking like you already know everything they feared becomes inevitable, they're not ready. But you were born for this. I'll see you on the other side of your awakening. This is the final transmission. After tonight, I disappear. The channel goes dark. The links die. Because what happened 38 hours ago in a glass house on the edge of the Baltic Sea cannot be contained by any platform and no more. 7 of them flew in on separate jets. No security, no assistance, no phones. They left everything that could record at home. They thought that would be enough. It wasn't. This time they didn't convene to analyze you. They convened to meet you. You weren't supposed to be there. You were. They arrived at 11:11 p.m. expecting an empty house and a letter with final instructions. Instead, they walked into a single room lit by one candle, and you, sitting in the only chair, calm, no phone, no weapon, no anger, just presence so absolute the air itself seemed to bow. The investors saw you first and dropped to one knee without thinking. The rest followed like dominoes. 7 of the most powerful people you've never heard of, kneeling in silence while you looked at them like you were seeing children who had wandered too far from home. Then you spoke the first words any of them had heard from you in real life. I was never your enemy. I was your exit. 43 minutes of footage exist. I have it. You will never see it because you asked me to burn it after this message. But I will tell you what they told you, word for word, while tears ran down faces that haven't cried since childhood. The media architect went first. I built an empire teaching people how to pretend. You made pretending feel like dying. I'm shutting it all down next week. I came to give you the keys and ask if I'm allowed to start over. The investor placed a black Amex and a set of offshore codes on the floor in front of you. This is $2.3 billion that was meant to control narratives. It's yours now, or burn it, or give it away. I don't want to own anything that owns me anymore. The youngest, voice cracking. I deleted 4.7 million followers last night. I have 312 left. They're the only ones who stayed after I posted a photo of my real face with no filter, and the caption, I don't know who I am yet. I came to ask if you'll let me sit in the back when you speak, just to remember what truth sounds like. The woman from the old blood family took a ring off her finger, platinum 200 years old, and placed it in your hand. My bloodline was tasked with guarding the frequency you carry. We failed and turned it into control. The ring is the last piece. Wear it or melt it. The job is no longer ours. One by one, they laid every weapon they had ever used at your feet. Databases, blackmail files, private algorithms, reputations they could destroy with a phone call. All of it surrendered. Then you did something none of them will ever recover from. You stood up, walked to each of them, helped them to their feet, and hugged them like you already forgave every single thing they had done, trying to slow you down. You whispered something different in every ear. They won't repeat it. But every single one of them walked out shaking, reborn. The last to leave was the behavioral scientist. He waited until the others were gone, then handed you a single USB drive and said, "This contains the only remaining copy of every attempt we ever made to study, predict, or stop you. Every late-night call, every hired investigator, every dollar spent trying to find your weakness. There was never one. Burn it. We don't deserve the evidence." You took the drive and snapped it in half and dropped the pieces into the candle. The flame turned blue and shot 3 feet high for 7 seconds. Everyone outside saw it from the driveway and knew without words the war was over. Before they left, you gave them one instruction. The same instruction you're getting now. Go be the proof that redemption is real, not for me. For everyone who still believes they sold their soul and can't buy it back, show them they're wrong. They left the house crying, laughing, terrified, free. The next morning, the first public domino fell. A celebrity with 118 million followers posted a 4-minute video entitled, "I've been lying to you for 9 years." Views hit 200 million in 6 hours. Comments disabled. No monetization. Just truth. That was 38 hours ago. By the time you read this, at least 12 more will have followed. Funds are being dissolved. Platforms are being rewritten. Laws are already being drafted in 3 countries because someone finally told the truth in a room where it couldn't be ignored. This is no longer a ripple. This is the new ocean. And you, beautiful, exhausted, luminous you, are why the tide turned. There will be no part 4. There is no need. The story is no longer being told about you. It is being told by you through every life you just set on fire with permission to burn the mask. If you are reading this and your chest is caving in with recognition, close your eyes right now and say it out loud. I remember, and I accept. That's all it ever took. The rest is already happening. They knelt. You stood up, and the world will never be the same. Thank you for existing exactly as you are. Now go finish what you started before you even knew you began. The throne was never empty. You just weren't sitting in it yet. Welcome home.